Awkward Girl Story 23. How I make strangers remember my dad. Or how I make them remind them of my dad. So this has happened several times, and not and not even in my hometown, where I'd it'd be more understandable to her, or at least I know people there are more likely to know who he was. But because my dad was the character, so anyone who met him, they didn't forget him, and he was just like me, very accident prone. That's where I get my accident proneness from, and he knew people from everywhere, but so many times since I've moved away from home, I've been somewhere in public. Bangs are really bothering me today. I've been somewhere in public and got some stupid injury, did something really clumsy and injured myself doing something stupid, or just ended up falling in a really weird way, or just done something that was get no one. It's very rare to see someone end up with getting with such a ridiculous injury like that, or getting it in such a weird way. And because I'm very clumsy and uncoordinated, so I fall down a lot. In public, I fall down the escalators, stairs, just trip over nothing. Sometimes I trip over the curb a lot. I have a broken ankle right now because I tripped over a curb last week. So yeah. So I've been seeing, there's a lot of people who have witnessed me get injured, and at least 5 times here in Winnipeg. Once when I was living in Brandon, and a few times back in Flin from people who I didn't recognize, that I guess had lived there before and moved away, and then we were back visiting when I was an adult. They moved away either when I was a baby or something. So it's not someone I grew up with or knew to know my dad. And just the stupidest way, one time when I was housekeeping up in Flin, the hotel, I was folding up a cot after a checkout, and I didn't realize one of the springs got caught in my shoe, and every single time I tried to pull it up after I was done folded up and everything, it just slammed back down into my foot. And I really wish it didn't take me about 6 times having this heavy cot slam into my foot before I realized it was caught on my shoe. I just kept pulling it up and just letting it, and just kept falling back and hitting my foot again. And yeah, so then when I'm for the guests, after, I broke 3 toes and I fractured my foot doing that, and I was waiting for my mom to come get me from work because I couldn't walk, and one of the guests happened to see me icing my foot, sitting in the lobby. And it was and he's asked me, he's like, what happened to you? He's what? I was I explained how it happened, and he started laughing, and he's like, what? He's like, what are you, Kelvin Asmus, this kid? I'm like, yeah, I am. He's like, what? He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I'm his oldest daughter, Shyla. I'm Kelvin Jr. And he's like, I'm so sorry, and just ran away. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. And I thought it was funny because at that point I was almost 17 years since my dad passed away, so I like that people are still remembering him, even if it's through my weird injuries. Just knowing that he's not forgotten. Here in Winnipeg, but I've just been on the streets seeing one time I tripped over a curb and ended up falling forward, but hit my shoulder. Well, it was this shoulder because this is one that pops out. Hit it on a bus sign pole and dislocated it. So the guy that's at the bus stop waiting for the bus, he just sees me come up, just trip over this curb, fly into this pole with the bus sign on it, and then my shoulder just dropped. And then he's and he comes on, he's like, are you okay? Do you need some help? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was and geez, he's seeing that, I was immediately just thought of one of my old buddies from back up in Flin. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, what's his name? Kelvin Asmus? And he's like, how would you know that? I'm like, I'm his daughter. And he's like, what? And and this has happened many times. When I was living in Brandon, one of the guys I actually was in the group home with me, he actually used to live in Flin, and he knew my dad, but he moved away when I was before I was 1 year old, because he remembers being at my coming actually to my place and to see my dad, and I was just a baby. Like I was like still like as a newborn. I wasn't talking yet, so like I was under 9 months old. And yeah, I ended up falling down the stairs one day at the house, and just like then it's like, and I was like, oh, and I just got up and tried brushing myself off like I was fine, and then he's like hoping no one saw. He's like, geez, did you just tumble down the entire set of stairs and then just like try and brush yourself off like act like you're fine? I'm like, yeah, and then I just walked right into a door, and he's like, oh, you remind me of one of my old buddies from Flim Flon. I'm like, what? I'm like, Flim Flon? I'm like, that's where I'm from. And he's like, no way. He's like, do you know any Asmuses there? I'm like, I am one. And he's like, no. He's like, what? He's like, who? He's like, I'm like, why? I'm like, who? He's like, I'm like, why? Did my clumsiness make you think of Kelvin Asmus or something? And he's like, yeah, is that your uncle or something? I'm like, that's my dad. And he's like, his kids aren't old enough to be like 18 yet. I'm like, yeah, I am. He's like, no. He's like, the oldest one is like 14 now. I'm like, no, I'm definitely 18. I turned 18 like a few weeks ago. And he was like, oh my god. He's like, I saw you when you were a baby. He's like, that's so weird. I mean, like, this is like a common thing, like, because nobody else like, my dad was very accident prone and got injured in the stupidest ways, just like I do, and I am, and so like, yeah, it's like often the one thing, like people who don't even know that I'm my dad's daughter don't know who I am at all, and it just freaks them out because it's just what a weird small world that like they happen to like see some girl get some like just do this, just be all clumsy and fall or just get injured in some like just some like weird way, and just immediately just makes them remember my dad because of his crazy injuries that he'd get, and then it makes them. Who knows how many people who have seen me get injured in some stupid ass way, and didn't make a comment about me being about reminding them of my dad or whatever, or like, oh, the only person who gets injured like that is like Kelvin Asmus. That's another one I've heard. So like there could have been like so many people who have seen me like, so many more who've seen me get injured and just like didn't say anything, just kind of like whatever, just kept them comments to themselves, but like still like might have saw that and like thought of my dad. But like this is still happening like pretty often, or not pretty often, but like every couple of years it happens. The last one was about a year ago. So I like that, and my dad's been gone for almost 31 years now, so I like that people who haven't seen him in like almost 40 years like still remember him, just even if it's through just seeing me get some sort of stupid injury, because I like that he's not forgotten and the people remember him. But I guess like he's one of those guys like once you meet him, like he's definitely going to make a lasting impression on you because he was one of a kind. Yeah. He passed away when I was 8. I don't think my mom would have been able to like handle both of us, like, especially once I got into my teens. Too much longer for often we were both getting injured all the time. Like before I was 2 years old, I broke my arm, I cracked my head open, needed stitches for the first time, and then broke my nose for the first time. My mom was heavily pregnant with my sister, and she was just stressed out. I've been on a steady roll of injuries and broken bones ever since. My dad was the same. Like he was always getting injured or just falling off weird stuff and like accidentally walking off walls or falling through decks, and just we didn't get run over. We both got run over, but not for the same reasons. Like I was just crossing the road, minding, and like actually was crossing when I had the pedestrian crossing lights. He was playing chicken against one of his friends he was on a 10-speed bike and his friend was in his truck, and my dad was stubborn and ended up getting himself run over. Yeah, so I'm not as reckless as him, I guess, but yeah, so it's yeah, I don't know anyone else who gets injured like either of us, so didn't know that was something that could be like passed on, like that could be hereditary or like genetic or whatever, just like accident proneness. Yeah, like I don't like, and it's like another thing is like I don't look like my dad like at all. Like I have his forehead, that's about it. Like other than that, like I don't look like him, so you wouldn't be able to tell like from looking at me, I feel like be like, and like recognize like, oh, that's probably Kelvin Asmus' kid. Like, she looks like Kelvin, and I was like, I'm just so yeah, because I look more Asian now than, and he was definitely pale skin, looked more, he's a light skinned native, looked more whiter than anything. So, because he's like half German and half Icelandic and half native, so I definitely don't. He was like, yeah, don't look like him at all. But yeah. Does anyone else have any like weird ways that they people recognize them or recognize their parents through them? Like me, people remember my dad, seeing me get injured, and whatever. Just sort of have like anything weird character traits or like our behaviors or mannerisms or anything that you wouldn't think would be like passed down like through from a parent or whatever, like being accident prone and getting injured all the time. So yeah, but like, yeah, if anyone does, like, I'm very interested to know, and because that's, I think it's neat and I think it's so weird and it's so random. Yeah, thanks.